We'll call this meeting of the Sebastian City Council special meeting for the budget hearing to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Gilmore.
Here.
Vice Mayor Adams.
Here.
Councilmember Coy.
Here.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Here.
And I have not heard from Councilmember Hill.
All right. Public hearing, adoption of proposed millage and tentative fiscal year 2015-2016 budget. Mr. Ginsburg.
Yes, sir. As I have in years past, with your permission, I'd like to read both the millage and the budget resolutions together. That way, anybody who wishes to address you can say anything they wish without having to be restricted to the specific of the millage or the budget. When I read the two, the public hearing will be open. The first thing that occurs under state law is that the city manager will announce the difference between the proposed millage and the rollback rate and the reason for the difference, the increase. 4E on your agenda is a resolution of the City of Sebastian, Indian River County, Florida, adopting a proposed millage rate of 3.8556 mils for the calendar year 2015, providing for conflicts, providing for an effective date. 4F is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sebastian, Indian River County, Florida, adopting the tentative budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2015, ending September 30, 2016, making appropriation for the payment of operating expenses, capital expenses, and for the principal and interest payments on indebtedness of the city in the city's general fund, special revenues funds, debt service fund, capital improvement funds, golf course fund, airport fund, and building department fund, as provided for in Schedule A attached hereto. Establishing authority of the city manager to implement the budget, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for an effective date. Now, at this time, the first item discussed must be the city manager's statements with respect to the millage and the reasons for it.
Good evening.
Good evening.
As the city manager, I'm announcing our proposed millage rate of 3.8556 mils, which is 6.24% higher than the rollback rate of 3.6290 mils. Excuse me.
Oh, sorry, my mistake.
3.6290 mils. This will provide funding for street resurfacing, set-asides for all aboard Florida issues, continue stormwater and lagoon improvements, and allow for personnel cost increases.
All right. We are now for the budget overview. Mr. Kilgore.
Good evening. For the benefit of, mostly for the public, to kind of give them a synopsis of what we've been talking about, I've got several slides, and it will be followed by a short presentation by Ed Herlihy, our chair of the Budget Committee. We did have a complete review of the budget by the Citizens Budget Review Advisory Board. We discussed the Recreation Impact Fee budget with the Parks and Recreation Board. We had the Planning Board review the entire capital program, and of course the City Council did a more intense review at the August 12th City Council meeting. We have posted the current document, and all the current numbers that are included in the resolutions are on the web page, and the public can go to that site to see a complete document, short of a few extra little things we'll throw in, and complete the final document that we submit to the Government Finance Officers Association for a an award basically based on how well we do the budget. An update to the summary. After all the numbers settled in, we took care of the changes in insurance and some other minor corrections. So essentially, the total budget increase over last year is $248,901. Most of that, as you can see, was to provide funds that could be allocated towards pay adjustments and added positions. Just to summarize the enterprise funds, we had the golf course. We have the $100,000 rent from the airport, or rent to the airport for the property. The big item is we're using a building fund loan and DST funds to pay for the irrigation system work. The airport is paying off a loan that it had from general fund. It's doing 1/4 of that loan amount every year, and this is the second year of that loan, as well as loans that were made by the DST funds to cover the mostly the construction of the hangars. Building department, they are in much better shape these days with the increased activities, and they're able to replace some equipment, and they are repaying and will make the final payment this year on the business taxes that back in the recession days were being recorded in the business or in the building fund rather than the general fund where they more likely belong. Special revenue funds that we depend on mostly for our capital projects. We have the gas tax fund that's providing the monies for street resurfacing. We have sizable amounts budgeted over the next 5 years. We have under study basically which are the roadways that need the most attention. So that will be coming back to the council at a future date. The DST funds, we have heard from the county that they intend to put that on a referendum for 2016, so we were encouraged by that. The DST funds do cover some significantly important expenditures for us, keeping our computer system upgraded, replacing police vehicles, and payment on the stormwater bank note as well as the city hall bank note. The Riverfront CRA Fund has some ongoing expenses, but I think the thing most important for y'all to note is we are continuing to sign in the sewer hookup programs. Rec impact fee funds, we had several projects which we shared with the Parks and Rec Board. They did object to us not including the bleacher shield request, but we didn't feel that was something that staff could recommend. Stormwater Utility Fund, we are completing another heavy effort at ditch maintenance to get the ditches cleaned up, which is where if you don't do that, you have very little benefit by doing some of the additional quarter round improvements. And we did provide that if DST hadn't been, is not considered or is not approved by referendum in 2016, by 2019, the DST monies would basically be fully expended, and we'd have a need to pick that up, the quarter round program up out of stormwater utility fees, which would more than likely lead to an increase in those fees, but that is down the road and hopefully can be deferred if DST is renewed. To sum up the millage, property values and millage, we considered the rollback rate that would have had actually an advantage to homesteaded properties. They would have paid about 5.5 cents less a year. Commercial properties would have paid only about $1.55 more. Our recommendation at 3.8556 adds the money that we need to continue our programs and provide for increases to employees, and should result in a $100,000 homesteaded property paying about $6 more and a commercial property paying about almost $26 more per year. Final comments is the pending wage opener negotiations. We did provide for the 3% of payroll. We had our sit-down meeting with the PBA and the PEA, the labor organizations, and today we did reach an agreement subject to ratification by the two unions, and they have scheduled those for the PEA on this Friday and the PBA on next Sunday and Monday to cover their shifts. So we hope we can get that on the agenda for the September 24th meeting, subject, of course, to their ratification of the contract, and we can get that in place. Of course, as you know, big concerns are all aboard Florida, even though we are providing the $50,000 years to set aside, whether that would be sufficient. DST renewal is also big on our radar, and the ongoing problem of when we want additional services or we want to improve the services that we have is how do we find the additional revenues to allocate. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ed Herlihy, unless you have any particular questions that have come to mind.
Thank you, Ken. Good evening, council members. I'll make this as short as possible. Some of it you've seen before. We'll just do it so we sum it up with the public of what the Budget Committee's been up to. This is what we did during the year through the general fund, staff increases and expansion, discussed canal repairs. Just briefly on the canal repair, there's nothing in the budget, upcoming budget for canal repair next year. Golf course irrigation project was approved at the last city council meeting, and that's going forward. We'll have additional funding for the lagoon, for roads and all aboard Florida, and also sewer connectivity within the CRA. We discussed quarter round. Nothing's going to be done on that because the money is going to the ditches. We discussed additions to public safety, and there will be no additions this year. This is a quick review of the general fund. The proposed 3% raises amount to about $233,000. Operating expenses, additional operating expenses, $150, and $248,901 is a net budget increase. And I think that's all been made pretty clear. The things that we've continued in the budget from this year to the new budget was $100,000 for the lagoon funding, $100,000 for road repaving repair, $50,000 for all aboard Florida, and that $100,000 for the sewer connectivity. So our property values are up 9.55. The 3.8556 millage, same as this year, raises an additional $288,000. And the budget is centered around the millage rate of 3.8556. Something you haven't seen. This city is in excellent financial condition. It really is. And you've seen a lot of it in the newspaper lately. If you think about it, and think back on some things, we have a very low debt load, and very shortly, in the next couple of years, this building will be paid for. We'll be out from under that. What we'll basically have left is stormwater. We have a very low sick leave vacation accrual amount. If you look at some of the other cities, it's horrifying. The millions of dollars they are going to have to pay out in sick leave and vacation accrual. We have a very, very low, in fact, the lowest in the area, the unfunded pension liability, and that refers basically to the police pension, not to anything else, but it is, the unfunded liability is very, very low. We have a very low tax rate compared to the rest of the state. We have an excellent credit rating, bond rating. The city consistently for many, many years has stayed within its budget. and it has a budget process that works every year so that we can come before you people with a budget that's well thought out with a minimum of problems. And last but not least, we've got roughly $5 million in cash reserve for the horrible thought that we have major storm damage. And that brings us to the end. The Budget Committee, again, recommends the millage rate of 3.8556, and we recommend that to you this evening. Any questions?
I'd just like to comment, Chairman Hurley, you've done an excellent job for many years on the Budget Committee, and I think there's a real symbiotic relationship between the Budget Committee and Ken and our city manager. I just think it's a great relationship that you guys have forged, and I think Port St. Lucie is 5.6 or 5.7 mils. Something like that, and they're going up. So our 3.8 sounds real good for a small town like this.
Well, if you look at the Port St. Lucie thing, they've got almost $1 billion with a B in debt, just under $1 billion. And it's probably climbing if another one of those medical research facilities leaves. They've got those buildings. They've still got the debt load on that. And the last I saw, they were talking about a 17% increase in their property tax, in their millage rate.
Yeah.
This city has held it, I think, very, very well past 7, 8 years. I think we've done, and we are in great shape. I don't want to say much about our friends just to the south of us, but they've got all kinds of problems. I'm glad we don't have them. Thank you, Mayor.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
No.
Thank you.
At this time, I will open the public hearing on the proposed millage and tentative budget for any public comment, positive, negative, neutral. Now's the time. All right, seeing none, let the record show there was ample time and a request for someone to come forward. We'll close the hearing. And do I have a motion?
Yes, sir. The procedure requires, the statute requires that we adopt the millage resolution first. That would be Resolution R-15-24. I read it into the record earlier. That needs to be the first motion.
Move to approve Resolution R-15-24, proposed millage rate for calendar year 2015 of 3.8556 mils.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any comments or discussion? Seeing none here on the board, roll call, please.
Mayor Gilmore?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Coy?
Yes.
Mr. McPartlin?
Yes.
And Mr. Hill is absent.
Okay, that passes unanimously.
The second matter is the resolution adopting the budget. That is R-15-25. The title was read at the beginning of the meeting.
Move to approve Resolution R-15-25, 2015-2016 tentative budget.
Second.
Do we have to mention the millage in this or no?
No, not now. The manager will sum up with regard to that, and then the last thing is an announcement about the next budget meeting.
All right, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Coy?
Yes.
Mr. McPartlin?
Yes.
Mayor Gilmore?
Yes.
And Mr. Hill is absent.
All right, that passes unanimously. And
I would like the manager to restate the millage and its relationship with the rollback rate and the reasons for the increase.
I'm announcing our proposed millage rate of 3.8556 mils, which is 6.24% higher than the rollback rate of 3.6290 mils. This will provide for funding for street resurfacing, set aside for all aboard Florida, issues continue stormwater and lagoon improvements and allow for personnel cost increases.
All right, there being no other business?
Well, finally, no, before, let's look at item G, 4G on your,
Oh, okay. Who's to announce that?
that can be you.
Okay, well, I'll announce our final public hearing on millage and budget to be held on Wednesday, September 23rd, 2015, at the City Council regular meeting at 6 p.m. And now we can, yes?
If I just may thank the Budget Committee, too, because I didn't
Yes,
sneak in
ma'am.
there. Really, wonderful job again this year. The mayor was right. We've had a tremendous committee led by Mr. Herlihy for many years now, and working with Ken Kilgore and the city manager and all of our city departments. I'm so pleased. I loved that slide that shows how we're in such good shape. People really need to appreciate that. And Sam, I see you smiling out there. Please put that in the paper. That's truly admirable. We are doing it the best that we can, and we're doing it really well, folks. So thank you, Budget Committee. Thank you for starting early again this year and just doing a spectacular job. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Again, I would just concur those fine comments for the Budget Review Committee. And Joe, you do a tremendous job, but Ken is the one there with that sharp pencil, and there's nobody else I'd rather have in the seat concerning finances. Thank you very much.
Vice Mayor Adams, comments?
Just echoing everybody else's sentiment. Job well done by the Budget Committee, by the city staff, city manager, Ken. Wouldn't expect anything less anyway. So keep up the good work. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. And now we can adjourn.